Hi everyone, thank you for tuning into this Tuesday's video. What I really want to talk about today is body positivity, and I'm coming from this through my own lens of my experiences around all of the different feelings we have around our bodies and living within this physical body in a world where obviously we're fed lots and lots of messages around how we should look and how we should behave. So that's what I want to dig into today. And I'm sure there's plenty of different definitions floating around online around what it's quite hard to say, body positivity means, and I'm sure it means different things to different people. But for me, what it means is really finding acceptance around your own body and being comfortable in your own skin today, right now, without thinking that, I'll be happy when I lose £5. I'll be happy when I am able to have a boob job. I'll be happy when I don't have cellulite on my thighs. So it's really about finding acceptance and love for ourselves today, right now, right this minute, wherever we are. So that is how I would describe body positivity. And it's a huge movement, and there are lots of amazing people of all different sizes. So you've got much bigger people who they're not afraid to use the term fat, they're fat and happy. And then you've got people who are maybe like fairly normal sizes, but in the beauty industry they're considered to be big. Like there's somebody I follow on Instagram called Charlie Howard. I absolutely love her. She's a size 10 to 12 model, but in the modelling industry she's considered to be a plus size model, which many people, me included, would see as being quite crazy. And then there's also people like Megan Jane Crabb, who have had eating disorders and then have gained weight and are feeling much happier and are spreading the news about body positivity and encouraging other people to get more comfortable in their own skin and to love themselves. So one of the things that I want to talk about first around body positivity is not only is it like an individual thing, like me in this body, it's also a real environmental and social challenge for us all to try and feel positively about our bodies. Because from what I believe, and growing up in England and living in the Western world, from being at a very young age, we are fed lots and lots of messages, and that's through print advertisements, now it's online advertisements, now it's online social media, through television programs, through music videos. Like there's this one kind of main thread, the baseline of what people look like in magazines and what people look like on TV, and social media now. And I think that creates this image of this sort of perfect person who has a very slim body and who is sort of always shown to us in a positive light, like all of the lighting's right, and they'll conceal anything that's maybe seen as a negative, like stretch marks or some cellulite. We never really see those things cropping into magazines or social media because of airbrushing. So we basically live in an environment that's selling us this vision of who we should be and what we should look like. And I think that even though I am very aware of that now, I'm still so influenced by it because I'm vulnerable, and we're all vulnerable to a certain extent to it, and it affects us. Especially, I'm talking from the viewpoint of a woman. Most women want to be found attractive by people, and they want to feel attractive within themselves, and they want to feel desired. And what we see as what we're told is desirable and sexy and what will make us happy is this kind of uniformed, slim model, Victoria's Secret kind of look, and that's what we're told. So we live in an environment where we're shown those images, and then from that, then advertisers and marketers and corporations basically tell us we have a problem, we are a problem. We allowed dimples on our face, but we are not allowed dimples on our thighs. And we need to become aware of like every small thing about, are our eyebrows too thin? Is our bum not perky enough? do we you know, not have the right colour hair or the right type of hair, or are our boobs maybe not the perfect size, or might be you know, we might have breastfed or our bodies change, and we're constantly being told that we've got a problem. And when someone constantly tells you that you've got a problem, it's very hard for you not to start believing that parts of your body are a problem, and they're a problem that then those companies sweep in and they have the solutions, they have the creams, they have the potions, they have the operations, they have everything that you need to fix the problem so that you can become that girl or guy in the advertisement. And I think that it's very hard for us not to be influenced by that, and we're all susceptible to that to some point. So we're living in this environment where we're constantly being told that we have a problem and that we're not good enough as we are. And you know, as much as you try and block that out, like I don't really read like mainstream magazines, I don't particularly follow people that give me that message on Instagram, but then I'll go out in my car in an hour's time and I can guarantee that I'll see numerous adverts and billboards on the way to where I'm going. And you know, it's impossible to completely close yourself off to it. And then I think when, as an individual, you're being told that you're not good enough and you've got a problem, then you start to feel like you get this like restless energy inside you of feeling like, I need to do something about this. I'm not enough. And I think there's two universal things that all of us feel, is that feeling of, you know, I'm not enough and I'm not going to be loved. Like, I'm going to be ousted. If someone sees this cellulite on my thighs, or this, you know, this fat around my tummy, if I let that like just relax and show somebody that, then I'm not going to be enough and I'm not going to be loved. So there are core fears, I think, that this brings up. And then also as well from that, I think that when we're not happy in our own skin and we have these like restless energy patterns and this kind of feeling of fear, then we tend to project that onto other people as well. So if you're not happy in your own skin, then you may then, you know, treat other women, or you might, you know, treat your partner in a way where, you know, you pick flaws in them and you project out how you're feeling onto other people. Like, you might make cruel comments about somebody else's appearance and somebody's body, or somebody who's, you know, fat and happy and not feeling like they need to change. You know, you might find that hard to accept, and you know, it might bring up all kinds of feelings that you then project onto those people. And I think that that's where a lot of bullying type behaviour, gossiping comes from. You know, we're all living in these kind of like with these insecurities and these fears, and if they've got nowhere to go, then we tend to try and like displace them and project them and put them out onto other people. And then you end up with this whole society, which is, you know, it's a sick society. And I don't mean sick in the body, obviously that is a whole other issue, but I'm talking about in the mind, like the patterns and the habits and the pathways that we're creating in our mind when we're constantly being told that we need to change and we need to fix problems within our body. So that's the environment that I really feel, I can feel it in my body, that's how I was brought up. And that's what I saw, not particularly from my mum, who I think my mum is a very body positive person, and she never made me feel like I needed to lose weight or be different. So I never really felt that from her, but I definitely felt it from like wider society. And when I became a teenager and I started to read magazines, I definitely felt it from there. Obviously the internet, I'm 33, so I wasn't sort of influenced as much by the internet at a really young age, but I definitely from women's magazines and teenage magazines started to get those messages that I wasn't good enough. And obviously we're going through our teenage years, and at that point I was having issues with my skin, and I wasn't really too worried about my own body. Just to give you a bit of background on me, like I never really felt like I was super sort of critical of my body and analysing everything when I was younger. I think that that's a sign of the times, because I would imagine that's quite different today for teenagers. But I never really felt like that through my teenage years, but I was conscious of my skin. I was conscious that I needed to fix that. I felt ugly. I felt like no boy was ever gonna want to go out with me, which was a big deal then. And like a few comments were made about my skin and like spots and things, and that really bothered me. And I also used to get bullied a lot about my nose. Like people in high school used to call me Bruno and make fun of my nose, saying that I had like a big sort of squashed nose, and that really affected me and how I viewed myself, and I just felt so unhappy, and like I just really wanted people to appreciate me, and I wanted to feel loved. So I struggled with that, and then basically to give you a bit of background, like from my own experience, my weight has fluctuated. So I went through a period where I was really, really obsessed with being thin, and I got down to about 8 stone. And then also went through a period where I was comfort eating a lot and probably went up about 2 stone, so I was at about 10 stone. And now I'm somewhere sort of in the middle region, which is healthy for me and my body. But when I lost a lot of weight and I went down to 8 stone, you know, I told you a bit of background about how I was getting bullied a bit about my nose, my skin, and I didn't feel good in my own body. And then I had a bereavement in my family, and I didn't know how to grieve about that properly. And so at the time I didn't know any of this consciously, but I was going through exam pressures. I'd lost my grandma, who was like another parent to me. She lived with us since I was born. And then I was also feeling really, really uncomfortable in my own skin. So I went along that path of like, I've got to fix myself, and if people are going to like me and I'm going to be accepted, I need to not have spots. I need to get a different nose, which wasn't possible, although I wished it was at the time, because I wasn't going to look down the path of having a nose job. And then I also found that I could gain some control by losing weight. And I didn't really necessarily feel like I needed to lose weight, but I think it was the control aspect of having, I could choose what I ate, and I could see an impact on my physical body from doing that. So it began when I was about like 16, 17, that I started to restrict my food. I became an extreme calorie counter. I used to carry around this little book, it was a Slim Fast like calorie book, and it was like a little pocket sized one, and I'd take that everywhere with me, and I would know the calories in every single food from every single like high street chain, every single kind of product from the supermarket, so I could constantly monitor my calories. And it got to the point where I was basically living on wafer thin ham, cereal bars, strawberries and Diet Coke. And that was pretty much all I'd eat all day, as little as possible of those things. And then I was also smoking to keep my weight down. And, you know, I felt like in control. I felt a sense of power from doing that I was shifting my body and it was changing. And to start off with, I was getting loads of compliments, and people were telling me that I was looking really good and I could be a model. And, you know, for me, that was like everything I dreamed of that I wanted, was to feel like that. And, you know, boys started to notice me, and I felt like I felt powerful, and that started to go to my head, and I got more extreme. And then the comments started to come like, oh, Reese lost so much weight, and some of my tutors at college were concerned that maybe I had an eating disorder. And it just got to that like point where I think it was becoming more and more of an issue, and it was becoming more extreme. And I kind of realised that I didn't want it to go any further, and that I needed to do something. And it kind of like, without me really trying to drastically change things, it just happened that I met my now husband, and he really helped in the sense that when we got together, I felt like it was really nice, and we just had like fun together, and I was able to relax, and I felt like he liked me for who I was, and that we had a lot of fun together just relaxing. You know, we would get takeaway food, we would go on days out, and we just treat ourselves, and we were kind of in that like fun, anything goes phase, and food was a big part of that, which really helped me to heal a lot. But then I pendulum swung the other way, and then, which I think a lot of people will do, is you go on these extreme diets and you lose a lot of weight and you become obsessed with calorie counting, and then that's not sustainable long term. So you pendulum swing and you end up eating loads of takeaways and loads of unhealthy foods. I moved away to uni, unhealthy food, you know, I was living on my own for the first time, eating lots of junk. And then I lost my dad, which was probably one of the most painful moments in my life so far. And food was such a crutch for me, it was such a comfort thing. I knew that I could go to that and it would really help me to feel better at that time, which is, you know, it was okay. I think it was what I needed at that time to help me. And then my weight went up from like 8 stone to, at one point I was 10 stone. So I think at that point I realised that I'd put on weight and I was eating a lot of junk, still calorie counting, but beating myself up and feeling really guilty that I'd eaten like 3,000 calories in a day and most of it was junk food. So then I knew I had to do something, and that I wanted to find more balance in my life and not count calories anymore. And what helped me with that was I found out about a guy called James Digan who did this clean and lean approach to eating, which wasn't so much of a diet, it was more a kind of lifestyle choice. And for some reason that book, I just picked it up and it really resonated with me. And so wellness and feeding my body things that it needed, like I'd abused it for so long, eating all of these different foods and hating myself and just feeling like I didn't have a healthy relationship with my mind and my body. So eating and nourishing myself, both physically through food and mentally through improving my attitude and appreciating my body. And I started to do more physical exercise and yoga, which gave me more strength. And it was no conscious way to think I wanted to change my body, but I started to feel strong and I started to get like a little bit of like muscle tone in my arms. And that was just all through doing something that I felt was giving me mental strength and more physical strength as well. So that's how I sort of came through and found my way to more body positivity. I would give a word of warning that the wellness industry, and it's just so huge now, like when I read that James Digan book years ago, it wasn't the same space it is now. And I think that if you have had issues with extreme dieting before or poor body image, the wellness industry does make you vulnerable as well. You know, it's very much, I think, like, you know, treats and things are seen as bad. And then there's the good foods, which are like juices and smoothies and kale and all of these different things. So I think it's about, you've got to try and find a balance, personally for me, and neutralising foods. So I'm going to post links to all of these things below. Sarah, Megan Jane Crabb talks a lot about this. I always want to call her Sarah, she's called Megan Jane Crabb. Body Posy Panda on Instagram, I'll post links below to all of this stuff I've talked about. And she talks about neutralising foods. So not seeing like cookie dough ice cream as bad and a green smoothie as good. It's like everything has its place, and you can enjoy green smoothies and you can go to yoga classes and all of those different things, but you can also as well like eat a bar of chocolate, enjoy a hot chocolate drink, have a cocktail, have a glass of wine. You know, you can still do those things, and if you're doing those things like from a place of enjoyment and not feeling guilty, and you might be sharing them with friends and having fun, the actual mental exercise of doing those things can give positives as well. So I'm going to post a link below to find out more about neutralising foods, and that may help if you're someone that has like real guilt trips after you've pigged out on stuff and finds that you're pendulum swinging from denying and then through to gorging and feasting on things that aren't really making you feel that good afterwards. So yeah, body positivity, I mean, I've shared with you a little bit how I felt around eating, and I was probably on the verge of maybe developing some sort of disorder in my teens, and then comfort eating has been a really big issue for me. And the biggest challenge that I face now, and I'm just going to be honest, because I'm, as I always say on these videos, I'm not doing it from a place of I've got it sorted, because I really struggle around like online and social media now. I think it's gone from being like you feel okay in your body to feeling like it's like the minutiae of what's not right with you. So for example, like I get really conscious that and I'm getting better at this, but like I've got stretch marks, I've got thread veins, I have something called, which I didn't even know this existed, like banana rolls under my bum, where you have like this little bit of fat underneath your bum, and apparently that's a bad thing that needs to be fixed. And like I have like these hip dips, another term that I've read online, that is like a thing where your hips stick out in the wrong place and that needs to be fixed. And these things make, like if I'm coming up to going on holiday and I see something like that, and I'll be like trying my bikini and I'll be like, oh my God, like look at this, and oh, what are people going to think, and how am I going to be able to feel comfortable and enjoy myself when there's all these things online telling me that I shouldn't have these things. And there's an Instagrammer called Ros Purcell, I'll post a link below, and she's absolutely beautiful, like intimidatingly beautiful almost. But like she does great posts, like, you know, she'll post an amazing bikini picture of herself, and then she'll also afterwards post like all the pictures it took to get to that one shot, and she'll show like a bit of a bloated belly, and she'll also show pictures of her stretch marks and stuff like that. And that really helps, because then you feel like, you know, it's okay, she's accepting that, and she's still so beautiful anyway, and she's just putting it out there. So I'm by no means sharing this video like I have got it all sorted on this, but people like Megan Jane Crabb, Charlie Howard, Ros Purcell, they are all really helping me to have more acceptance of my own body and to be able to feel like I can love myself. So then I'm able to feel like in my relationship, I'm just able to feel more comfortable and like not thinking that I need to change or I need to be different to be loved. And that's a big thing for me, because, you know, I felt like that for a long time, thinking that everything that's not right with me, I need to be fixed, and I need to almost sculpt myself and erase all of these little things. And it's just exhausting. And I was in tears before I post this video, thinking about how many days I've spent of my life feeling like, how many hours and days I've spent looking in the mirror and critiquing my body and feeling like I'm not good enough and people aren't going to like me and I can't show my true self, and I have to disguise and cover up and spend lots of money on trying to change myself. And it's exhausting, and I just don't want to do that anymore, and I want to be honest and share about things so like I can support other women and other men. You know, this is becoming more of an issue for men as well, so that we can all help each other to feel like we can accept one another. And then I think that that creates a healthier society as well, you know, community where we can all just talk and be honest and vulnerable. So I hope this has helped you in some way. And, you know, body positivity is not something I think that you reach like a destination. It's a journey, and you will have days when you feel good and days when you dip, and, you know, it's not going to be straightforward, but I hope that we can all help each other to love our bodies more and feel more accepting of ourselves. So if you want to share anything, I would absolutely love to talk more about this topic, because it's something that it really helps me every time I talk about it. So if you want to talk about it more, I'm here. I'm on social media, on the channels below in the notes. I'm also on comments here to talk about anything. So thank you so much for listening to me and me talk a bit more about my story, because I can only really talk about it from my personal perspective. And if you want to reach out about anything, please do, and I'll post a link below as well to, if you feel like you're concerned about an eating disorder, then I will post links to places that you can get help and discuss that as well. And I will see you next Tuesday for another video. Thanks guys, bye.